Welcome to the next edition of the Snapchat. I'm joined today by none other than Cozy Snap. Cozy, it's been an absolutely wild week. I'm going to ask you, what's been your favorite deck to play thus far this week?
Oh, dude, it has to be the Toxic. It's got to be the Toxic archetype. I've been having some fun with a discard brew that I'm cooking up. But the fact of just having the Viper and the Green Goblin into the decks that are just craving to play like Loki, that need the locations. I won an Infinite Conquest with it against a high Evo on the match 5. It was insane. I love it, man. It's been a ton of fun to play that. How about you?
It's funny because what happened was I was laying in bed in the morning, right? And I was playing a couple of Snap matches. And I'm like, what's a Toxic deck? Like nonstop. I hadn't had a chance to check my YouTube notifications yet because I got that bell rung. And then I scroll down. I'm like, oh, okay, there it is. That's why I'm facing Toxic deck after Toxic deck. Honestly, it's a beauty. I gave it a shot too. I think you nailed it. I think it's a lot of fun. And hey, listen, you know what's really fun though is getting a deck that not only functions well, but it's legitimately fun to play. And I think that's like the thing that we sometimes miss in Marvel Snap. That I know we get competitive guys. Ranked is now competitive. Conquest is naturally competitive by design. But it's such a fun game. It's such a fun game, and I think that deck is just fun. Toxic's always going to be fun.
Yeah, Viper is just a cool card, right? Like, just doing what she has. And then also, I love the ability of, it came from the Psylocke buff, right? The Psylocke buff was good, and then I was like, what archetype loves 5-drops that, like, really affect the deck? And I was like, ooh, Doc Ock and Spider-Woman. And then I was like, hold on. Leech? I was like, dude, all these cards together just feel so mean, and they work together and they flow, and dude, it's a lot of fun. So I'm glad that you enjoyed playing that, and hopefully the viewers and community did a bit as well. But yeah, dude, we've got some good topics on this side, and I feel like it's always good to recap what we've said on the Snapchat before, right? And talk about the cards that come out, because we like to get hyped up. I feel like we were pretty good on my side, not getting too crazy. But, we were excited for this season for sure.
It definitely was an exciting season. I mean, we got one of the most notable tech cards in the history of Marvel Snap, and it's a lot of reason to get excited. I think me and you we're excitable dudes at the same time. But one thing I will say is, like, evaluating cards without playing them is incredibly difficult, right? It's incredibly difficult. But overall, I'm really interested in this discussion because I think that going back and taking a look at how we, rank cards and how we're going to kind of rank them now, I think speaks volumes to how impactful some of these cards have been on the meta. Because I think we've had some extreme meta shakers. So let's dive right into the conversation. So we're going to be talking about the cards that came out in September. Okay. And we're going to be doing our final rankings and analysis on them. We've had our chance to play them. We've used them in decks, countless hours of conquest and ranked. Cozy, where do you want to start? You want to start like at the top? You want to start at the bottom? What do you want to do? Let's start at the bottom.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Like Mobius
let's start at the bottom. Number 4. What would you give the lowest ranked card of the season? I would dare to guess I might know what it is, Cozy. But let's see what you got to say.
Yeah, I think the one that we definitely whiffed on the most, and I'll say this, Alex. I'll say that I think we were maybe like a smidge hard on her. But obviously, Ravonna Renslayer is the worst card of the month. But I'm going to give her a 2-star instead of like a 1 or 1.5. But she's still
2 stars fine. Okay. 2 stars fine. She's bad, but it's just, what it came down to? Worse with Ravonna. That's the slogan that kind of stayed in my head. Worse with Ravonna. And that's kind of what happened with the decks, but it's kind of unfortunate because it was kind of like a cursed card if you think about it.
Okay.
You had Mobius coming out next month, right? And the pool of cards that it was buffing, yes, you had the Darkhawk, but Darkhawk was already on its way down. Zabu was going to get hit by Mobius anyways. So you had all these kind of things stacking against Ravonna. And maybe we were a little too high on like its potential combo-centric play. Ultimately, it's going to be probably the weakest link in September, which, I mean, is not that big a deal because this is the kind of card, like we said before, it's going to age like fine wine. As more cards come out, there's going to be cards coming out every single week for the rest of history of Marvel Snap. Ravonna has a chance to positively impact that card, right? Positively be a key component in the cog of that machine. So, I have the card in my deck, in my collection, not in my decks, in my collection. Let me correct, and I'm waiting for its opportunity to come out and shine.
Yeah, I played with her a bit over the last couple days in Patriot, and I actually think if the community got together, we could find decks that are better with her. But it's just, she's such a hard card to make work overall. She's going to be a candidate for an OTA. There's no question, because they want their cards to be good. You could just look at the stats with her, and they're going to be like, yeah, this one just did not land. And ultimately, she's a Series 5. They're going to want to, or I guess Series 4. They're going to want to sell her, per se, right, on future spotlights. So for that reason, I see her getting better. But also, yeah, I think there's better days ahead for Ravonna. Mobius will calm down a little bit as we continue to move forward. People are already still not playing him enough, but I think we can both agree Ravonna is at number 4.
Yeah, but I have a question for you. What do you do with Ravonna? Like, do you think you go right to 2 cost first, or do you maybe make her a 3-4 or a 3-5? See if that extra power kind of buoys her up a little bit.
Yeah, either match her with Loki if you're not going to take him down and make her a 3-5, or bring her down to 2. Because they said they experimented with bringing her down to 2, I feel like that's probably what they're going to do with her first, right? Yeah, it's just, again, she's just an awkward play because of curve, right? So if they can fix that, like if a Zoppo on 3 is tough if he's bad curve too, because you don't have enough turns to take advantage of what you're trying to do for the most part, right? I would say 2 cost, yeah.
Yeah, really? Okay. Yeah, I can see that being the case. All right, Cozy, I'll let you lead the way with number 3. What do you think is the third slotted card for our final rankings in September?
Dang, I was gonna pass the torch to you, but it's coming my way, because I think we can all say all 3 of these cards are kind of like neck and neck, and it's so weird, man. It's weird to put them here. Ultimately, dude, I guess I'm gonna put Mobius here, which, like, at this point, I think we can all just say all 3 of these cards, just by that statement, all of these cards are pretty meta-defining. If I'm putting Mobius here at 3, and it speaks to how damn good Alioth and Loki are. It's crazy. Because Loki and Alioth, I see getting a nerf in some capacity eventually, honestly, if I'm being candid about it. Mobius, I don't. Mobius, though, is the most general, insane card, and he's so good. Like, all these are S-tier cards in my book. I have them all as just top-tier cards. Alioth is probably what you would put here, or most people would put here, but Alioth is just filthy. He's a filthy card. What are your thoughts?
I think my thoughts are we're gonna have a bit of a debate here. This is wild. I did not expect you to put Triple M here at number 3. No way would I have expected that. This is where I had Loki, and I can see it on your face. You're like, seriously, Alex, what are you thinking? Putting Loki below Triple M and Alioth? Well, hear me out here. And this is based on today. Since the release of Triple M, Loki has been a more lackluster list. It's still good. It still wins. Okay. It still does its thing, but it doesn't do its thing as good because of Mobius. It really doesn't. And I think that, like, the weekend missions you're seeing, anyone just running Mobius and decks that kind of can take advantage of Loki a little bit are just feasting right now. And I'm trying to get that gold. I'm playing Loki decks, and it plays horribly against Mobius. It's not unwinnable. What I often found myself doing was leaning towards, like, okay, they have Mobius. I'm going to play my Devil Dinosaur line. If I have Collector out, I'll play my Loki on 6 to pump the Collector, and then I can refill my hand with Devil Dinosaur and Snow Guard or something. Like, the different lines I think are super good with Loki, but for me, in terms of, like, the way it feels right now, today, as of recording, I feel like Loki is less, I don't want to say less meta. We're talking about really good cards here, right? We're talking about S-tier cards, but it's not doing what Alioth is doing. And it sure as hell didn't do to the meta what Mobius is doing right now. Mobius has had like this numbing effect on the meta. All the top decks kind of just went a little lower because of Mobius. I don't know. I slot Loki here. I know you think it's complete anarchy that I've done this.
No, I mean, I think it's, again, all 3 of these. I didn't know going into this subject we were going to rank them in order, right? So I just had my star ratings for them, and then I had to think about it on the spot, like what I would put. I think Loki's the best deck in the game right now, still. And you just put Mobius with Loki, and he's still the best deck in the game. Or wait for it. You play Loki, and you get their Mobius. They have it in the deck. You just play that first, and then you get to have your explosive turn 6. Or turn 5, or whatever, right? So, like, it's funny. He's so good to counter Wave and Sarah, but he's better with Wave and Sarah. And so, ultimately, Loki's just right now on a consistent basis the deck I fear the most in Infinity Conquest. Thus, I have to have it as the highest ranked card. And I think Loki rewards players. Loki's not good at low ranks. He's not. And not to, like, offend people at low ranks. It's not what I'm trying to do. More of, like, the more you're, the casual doesn't have a super good grasp on what deck they're playing against all the time. They're just hanging out. They're playing the game. if you know what you're going against, Loki is very easy, and you have 4 different play lines that you're going to do with Loki, depending on the deck you're going against, right? So all these are great cards. I just have Mobius here as like the long-term winner, sure. But as far as just like what has happened this month, I have him at the 3rd spot. Feels weird, but yeah, that's my personal take there.
Yeah, the month as a whole, I mean, Loki definitely smashed up this month pretty hard. Like, Loki had an impact. Loki had an impact. It's just the way I felt this weekend playing Loki with Mobius on the board, with Mobius in the meta. It's not this, it does not feel the same. Loki felt borderline unfair the first week. Yep. And now it feels much more vulnerable, is what I'm trying to say.
For sure.
And so, like, from that standpoint, it's like, that's why I kind of bring it back a little bit. But I totally get your argument. Also, I mean, let's be honest. You love Loki because you love Loki, right?
Yeah,
that's
I love the gameplay,
that's the other side to it, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you'll always find a way to love an arrow deck. So,
yeah, right.
Biased. I'm calling it now. Bias.
Please do. Please do. At number 2, then, who do you have? Loki?
I wrote Alioth. I put Alioth down at number 2.
Well, we can agree on that.
I feel like, yeah, I mean, it's so funny how we got these all mixed up. What was your number 2 again?
My number 2 is Alioth. So
okay, so we agree on this part. We agree on this. It's the 1 and 3 that we have flipped.
Yeah.
Let's hear your thoughts on Alioth first. I'm interested.
Oh, dude, it's like I feel bad because the card that usually like the community likes to come together and hate, I'm like, yeah, I just don't feel that way. I love Alioth. I think he's probably my most played card this month by a long shot. I have to restrict myself from putting him in decks that I throw on, or if I have him in a deck, I just do alternates that you can put in there. He rewards. Listen, I just think that people got very used to how to play Snap or how to abuse it in a way where Elijah says nope. Now, does he need counterplay? Probably. Should the cards at least reveal? Probably. I don't know. I think that's how you adjust him rather than power. He needs to have a little bit of power there. But my God, dude, he's just a winner. If you can focus and change the game from a 3-location game to a 1-location game with just a little sprinkle on another location, and that's what all the decks do. Lock down even the toxic archetype that I was playing with him. Ramp. Who cares about Galactus? Dude, he's so good. He's such a good card. I love him.
Yeah, and the thing I really like about Alioth specifically that maybe goes understated is he made initiative matter again.
Exactly.
When I'm playing an Alioth-based deck and when I'm designing an Alioth-based deck, I really focus on what initiative looks like, how I can control the board state, how I can control the locations. It's a much more macro-centric approach to Marvel Snap. And I think that what it does is it pays off on turn 6. You know what I mean? Like all those small things you do throughout the course of a game to either maintain initiative, to seal off and close off locations, or basically make them unwinnable for your opponent, therefore encourage them to play where you can predict. Those are like 6-turn entire game plays that culminate in your Alioth play.
Yeah.
Sometimes for your opponent, they're getting hit by the Alioth, but you've built to that. And that's kind of where, like, I feel some sympathy for the Alioth lovers out there that are, like, feeling bad because they're playing Alioth, because it's it feels like it's the new villain to some degree right now. Galactus got brought down a little bit. Alioth dodged that nerf, but you kind of earn it sometimes. Even with the Soul Reads we've talked about, like, it's not an easy card to play. It just feels like it's an easy card to play when you wipe out 3 cards on their side of the board.
I don't know, man. It's just funny that community won't get mad about a Kitty Pryde that's like 1 billion stats followed by a Taskmaster, and then all of a sudden, like, Alioth is a feel-bad card to lose to. He is, right? Like, you'll take an ass whooping by a 28 Taskmaster, like, fair play. But Alioth gets played in, like, they're cheating. Right, so it's just the way it makes you feel. I understand it. It's one that I think is fine. I think he maybe could have balance with counterplay a tad bit. But I have 554 boosters right now for the card, okay? So with those boosters, I can say that there's so many games that Alioth was not going to win it for me, and I had to resort to something else, or I just lost that round, right? Or game, or whatever. With the consistency of how much I've played, I feel like that he's close, if not fine, as a card. He's just damn good. He's a damn good card that changed the way it was played.
Do you think it'd be better or worse that, like, if someone loses to Alioth, instead of saying, like, defeated, if you play Alioth with initiative and delete their cards, it says deleted?
Yeah.
Or just that's Alioth, funny, or do you think that would just tilt them worse?
Alioth with a D, E-D. Alioth. Yeah. Probably pissed off even more players. But yeah, he's going to just be a card. Listen, it's tough to add these cards in the game. and it's cards that obviously Glenn adds for reasons in the game. He's just he's tough. The people that hate him are gonna hate it. Like there's no converting those people, right? Like they are gonna hate a Lithe till he gets nerfed, and they're gonna clamor for it. Unfortunately, I'm just not one of those people yet. I'll put that on there. But yeah, he's both of our number 2s, and then we have 1 and 3 swapped. Yeah.
Yeah. Last questionable Lithe though. This is interesting. I thought about this and I want your opinion on it. Do you think that a Lithe's design is better or worse than the original Spider-Man? It's something that kind of crossed my mind. I wanted to bring it up on the Snapchat. The original Spider-Man that blocked off the location. I feel like a Lithe kind of does that by proxy to some degree. Like it basically completely nullifies a location on a turn, but there's that soul read element to it, whereas Spider-Man did not have that soul read. So I'm interested in your thoughts between the two, a Lithe and Spider-Man, and those two designs.
The thing is, 5-drops are borderline the most important card in Snap, and so you with a Lithe get to play a 5-drop, and with the Spider-Man that was turned into a 5-drop, right? Like that's what was tough. That's what the one I'm speaking on. So you get to have the impactfulness, whatever that might be, of your 5-drop. Like you arrow them over there, and then you get to just have that free lane to play a Lithe, and that's the biggest. Dude, playing Spider-Man, like you were giving up turn 5, and then you had they were blocked off from that lane, but sometimes it was just like I hope this works or whatever. And then you could Dr. Doom it, but that's usually not enough because you didn't have the impact of whatever they got to do on 5. For that does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. It's just, it crossed my mind. I thought it was an interesting discussion point.
I have a follow-up question because we already know our 3-1-2-1. I think we don't have to talk crazy about Loki and Mobius too much more. Let's go to last month and say the best card of last month was X23. Does that break number 3 on this month? Does that break Mobius and up or Loki and up? I don't think so, yeah?
No. I think that X23 falls under those cards. Like if I were to evaluate all of them together, I would say that Goliath, Loki, and Mobius are stronger cards than X23 on aggregate.
Month prior was Legion.
I still think...
right? It's still better.
I still think that Goliath, Loki, and Mobius are better than Legion.
June, we don't even have one in contention. What about Iron Lad or High Evo? I think both of those at least could punch up.
High Evo punches up for sure. Iron Lad, listen, I know you're high on Iron Lad where I'm not. Like we know this, we've talked about this before, but I think we can both agree High Evo has been one of the most meta-defining cards released in Snap because like it's just accessible for basically any play. No, I shouldn't say that. It's a Series 5 card that's not necessarily accessible, but if you unlock it, its decks become increasingly accessible because you have most of them already. I think that Evo definitely punches up for sure.
So if we hyped this season up, listeners, viewers, but to the point, I would say arguably you have Jeff, High Evo, Legion in the area. Maybe Jeff and High Evo for sure, right? That even get close to these 3 cards in terms of relevancy and what they've done and how good they are in the game. That's how... I don't even call it power creep. I just think that what they bring to what they do is insane. And we've known about this month forever. We go back to June. We were saying save your spotlights for the September month. And it lived up. It lived up to the hype. Say what you will, it lived up to it, and it's good to see that because we've had a few months where they don't, and this is definitely one that they have.
All right, Cozy, the next discussion I think is a really important one of the most important that we'll have, and that's a discussion about the Spotlight caches that are coming in October. Spotlight caches are damn expensive. They're rare, and for free-to-play players and pretty much everybody, making a plan on how you intend to roll on your Spotlight caches is going to be important. So today we're going to talk about October Spotlight caches, and we're going to be going through them, getting our opinions, our thoughts, and seeing which ones are the ones that might provide you with the most value as a player in Marvel Snap, trying to get the most bang for your buck. Cozy, let's start with October 2nd to 9th. That is going to be the week of Thanos, X23, and Echo. Now, I'm kind of laughing because, like, did I just name 3 of your favorite cards of Marvel Snap or what?
Yeah, right. I mean, 3 cards I like a lot, and even with that, it's like, man, it's just a tough week. It's a tough week. You don't have a new card in there. Thanos is in a bad spot at the moment, even though he'll have synergy. It is Thanos. He is one of the most fun cards to play. If you didn't get X23, it's awesome. How dare they put X23 in this first week, just like they put Jeff in the last one. They know what they're doing here. These cards, if this was a week with a new card, good God, it's spicy, dude. It's tough without one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the week with Elsa, right? Which is kind of why they do it this way. So like, I get it. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep, okay, Elsa comes out, that's a good like PR push, and then next week we get Man Thing. The next week, if you release 2 brand new cards, it's like, you know, you're running through the inventory. You want to you got to keep people, you got to keep that carrot on a stick going. I think that's why they do it the way they do it. It makes sense if you really think about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it kind of hurts me because like, if Thanos was in its original state with the Soul Stone, I still can't believe it. It's the Soul Stone change that really took Thanos' legs out. Like, this is an amazing bundle because I do think that like Thanos, I don't care. Even if it's not bad right now, if it's not great right now, I still think this is a fantastic card. This is a 5-star card you want in your collection. You always want it. X-23, for me, it's a 4-star card. I think you always want it, right? I know for you, you even literally potentially even higher on it, but like it is a staple in Destroy, right? Like, you don't really make a Destroy list without X-23, right?
No, and that's where it's like it's super tough, right? Because if the random slot didn't exist, I'm like, oh man, this is definitely, if you don't have any of these cards, definitely open one up, right? Like, just see what you get. If you get Thanos, great, X-23, but if you get the tokens, it's like, you gotta be kidding me. X-23 is not dropping anytime soon. Thanos is never dropping. And then Echo is a cool consolation prize. I would probably people are going to be the most mad if they were to pull only that. It's just tough not having a new card in this one. That's what I come back to. If you're a Destroy player though, and you don't have these cards, it's a banger week, man. This is a Destroy Thanos list, like pretty much right here without the Echo, the X-23 Thanos, and who knows, you might just get Thanos, you can get out. If you get X-23 as your first pull, second pull, get out. Just stop. Or Thanos if you're going for both of those, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
That being said, like, I do like Echo though. Like, we've talked about this in the past. You've converted me from an Echo doubter to an Echo believer. And I think the card's better. It's the meta, it's not meta relevant. It's not the time for Echo yet. And until we get the ongoing season, right? Echo's always going to feel like a potential risk. Although, if Jean Grey ever becomes really, I mean, Jean Grey's kind of making a bit of a comeback, and Jean Grey really likes Echo, right? To some degree. But yeah, overall though, this is a pretty good week. I think if you're a free-to-play player and you don't have Thanos and X-23, I think you can confidently roll for those two. It feels like a good week. But if you have these cards and if Echo's the one you're missing, you skip. You skip Echo all day long, I think. Thanos is really the prize, I think, if you don't have him yet. And X-23 is definitely like a very, very close second just because it's so damn good. And you're right, it ain't dropping anytime. And nothing's dropping anytime soon.
Right, that's our next subject. Yeah, right. What's your star rating on the week?
My star rating, I give this one here approximately like a 3 or 4. I lean towards like 3 or 4, just simply on the fact that Thanos is what Thanos is. X-23 is what X-23 is. Yeah. And I do believe in Echo overall. I think that if you don't have these cards, like, it's worth rolling for Thanos for sure.
No, I like it. I think there's something to be said about, like, yeah, you don't get the new card, but like also cards are still good from the past, right? So if you don't have them, I agree. This is probably like a 3.5 for me. The other thing that's important is to look ahead. In the next 2 weeks, you don't need to roll, in my humble opinion. Honestly, next 3 weeks, like, yeah, we'll get to them in a second, but like, keep that in mind as we talk about these other ones. If you look where you're at with these spotlight caches, and if you're like, but I only have 5 or 4 and there's weeks coming out, keep in mind with what we're about to say, right? So week number 2, Alex, is Man-Thing, which we talked about on my side, Silver Samurai, and Lady Deathstrike. Alex, are you hot on this week? Do you hate it? I think we could both just say right now, Man-Thing is the only Series 4 drop, right?
Yeah, this is one of those weeks where you don't roll your caches and you spend your tokens.
Yes.
If you really want Man-Thing, you spend your 3,000 tokens, you save your caches, you move on with your life. It's that simple. Yep. This is like, I don't want to say 1 star, but you don't roll this week, I don't think. If you really want Man-Thing, you get Man-Thing. Silver Samurai is not meta defining. It goes into decks. It goes into discard decks. Okay. Lady Deathstrike, the variant's cool. The variant's cool, I guess. But outside of that, like, it's a missable card, right? Who really cares right now? I think this is a pretty low week. This is like, I don't want to say 1 star, but it's like 1 or 2 star.
I'm skipping this week, and that's rare because I go off to all the variants, but like, Man-Thing's base variant slaps. I love it. I like, it reminds me of like Goosebumps. Yeah. So people that hate Man-Thing are gonna hate it. Like, it's just not their card, man. They don't like playing with fire. I get it. For the like general person, I would say Man-Thing's like a good card to grab for 3K. Absolutely good card to grab for 3K. Silver Samurai you can miss him. It's fine. Lady Deathstrike, you can definitely skip her, in my opinion as well. It's not a week that I would go for whatsoever. And then even if you don't play Toxic, like, don't worry about Man Thing. But if you do, or if you're even interested in trying it, wait for some videos. Check out what we have to say. Odds are it's gonna make Toxic a lot better. Week 3 is Black Knight, Stature, and MODOK.
Yeah, you got it. Black Knight, Stature, MODOK, which is kind of funny because how many times are you going to put Stature, MODOK into these spotlight caches, right? But before we talk about it, you actually touched on something really important I want to say. What Cozy just said so important. Wait, just wait, right? Like, don't, like, I know you get the spotlight caches, you want to roll them, you want the new thing, but if you just wait like a couple days, right? There's a chance like, oh, wait, Man Thing, look at this deck. It's 65% win rate. Oh my God, right? And then, okay, you get it, spend it, right? But if it's like, oh, look at Man Thing, 27% win rate, right? Like Ravona Rank Slayer territory, then like, yeah, just don't spend it. You're going to be happy you waited, right? Especially if you're free to play. I think patience is a virtue with these.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get back to the week. October 16th to 23, we have Black Knight, Stature, and MODOK. I mean, Stature, MODOK are cards I like, but what card just came out that really destroys Stature?
Yeah, right.
Might be one of the best cards ever released. Which was it, Cozy?
That's the thing. It's like the flavor of these cards are fun, but it's like, yeah, but will it work? Or will it be worth it? Stature is like, I love that they do Stature MODOK because they're anticipating this to be the discard week. So here's Stature to counter that, essentially is what they're saying. Black Knight's best synergy card is neither of these two, in my opinion. I think MODOK, obviously, we've talked about where that could work. We can stand by MODOK as a good card. But because of the linear approach to it all, man, again, I'm going to say it. If you're a discarder for life, or you get that across your chest and you have a Morbius tattoo, get it. But this is skippable, yeah.
It's definitely skippable. And it's unfortunate because like when I look at it, I'm like, okay, MODOK is a fantastic discard card, but it's already been here. It's already been here. There's a chance that you have MODOK, right? It's also Series 4. You have the Series 4 Stature. Gets destroyed by Triple M, right? And then you have Black Knight, which, I mean, we just talked about Black Knight. And I think we were lukewarm. We were lukewarm on Black Knight because like it has potential, but at the same time, it's like, does it really do what you want? Does it really do what you want? So
yeah.
Feels very skippable, especially knowing that like there are people out there that these caches they're hard to come by. They're hard to come by for everybody. And so, yeah, I think this is one of the ones you week. Is this a 2-star week for you? Like, it's hard to say.
Oh, man. Honestly, to me, it's just a pass. It's a pass. And that's why it's like week 1's more appetizing because you're like, well,
yeah,
okay.
At least it's Thanos week 1, right? You got Thanos, a big bad. You got X-23, basically one of the big bads of Destroy. And it's not null, but it's, you know what I mean, right? Like it's the basis of Destroy right now.
Yeah, dude.
None of this matters really.
We haven't talked about, we're not going to talk about November. I don't think we need to whatsoever. But what I will say is that just looking ahead at what is planned to, I know Eliath and Loki, they're all supposed to be dropped in that month, along with the new card. So if I was free to play, like my mindset would be like, dude, just ignore the hype on this. Like, get Elsa, she's a banger, and then hold out and probably open week 5. We'll get to that. But does that make sense? Like, just looking at these, it's like I could give it a 3-star or 2-star, but it's like, no, man, I don't think so. I think we just talked about, what did we just talk about? How good those cards were. And if you're missing any of those, it's like, get them. Go get them while you can, you know?
I agree. Then we move on to the next week, which is October 23 to 30th. We have Nico, Minoru. Is it Minoru? I don't even know if I'm saying
Minoru.
Right. Whatever. I say everything. I at this point, me mispronouncing things is the meme at this point.
Yeah.
Then we got Kitty Pryde, and then we have Phoenix Force. Is this like what, the 9th time we've said the word Phoenix Force on this podcast?
Yeah, no, it's like today's podcast is brought to you by Phoenix Force.
Phoenix Force, yeah, I know it. Okay. This is a weird one because Nico, we just finished talking about like Nico is like, well, how do you even evaluate this card, right? It's like it's gonna be either end of the spectrum. Not like it's either gonna be complete unmitigated filth or pretty damn legit. There's no middle ground. There's no middle ground. It's a 60% win rate card or it's a 15% win rate card. Nothing in the middle. So like that's hard to evaluate right off the bat. But then you got Kitty Pryde. With what I will say is one of the most beautiful variants in the game. Talk about one of the best spotlight caches they've ever released. That is a Kim variant. It is absolutely beautiful. That's a cover art variant, if my Marvel lore serves me correct. I might be wrong, but someone in the comment section will know. Listen, Kitty, if you don't have Kitty already, it's worth getting Kitty. But Phoenix Force and Nico, Kitty Pryde, you probably already have. Cozy, another Skip Rooney or what?
Yeah, so first of all, if you like fun in Marvel Snap, you can give a rip about your rank. This is a fun week, man. You get Phoenix and Nico. Those are like fun ass cards. I would say with this week, this is the most just wait. Like, see how Nico is? If Nico's a Legion, if Nico's the next best card, dude, fire away. Get yourself a Kitty Pryde and Nico. But even if you're a player that would have Kitty and Phoenix, and then Nico's fire, you probably just buy Nico with the tokens, maybe. But
6,000.
If it was like
Instead of
Legion,
risking the roll.
if it was Legion like worthy, yeah. But no, this is a skipper. But if you like fun, man, go for it. But this is a skipper. Even if you have like Elsa and Kitty is gonna be so good. I just see there being other packages there, right? That you could probably end up rolling anyway. And again, talking about weeks coming out. I will say I love that they have synergy here between Nico, Kitty, and Phoenix. This is like it all works with Elsa, and this week works together. But yep, sadly, which I know it's like, oh, bummer, but hey, like those that open and destroy that we told you not to, and you didn't get to open up in September, this is the same thing, man. I think November's got some good stuff. November's kind of online with this week too, as far as the new cards go. It's like there's some really cool stuff, and again, we'll talk about that later on. But week 5, Alex, is this the crown jewel?
It is. This is by far the week of October, and I don't think it even comes close, right? I mean, maybe week 1 if you're free to play player comes close, but not quite. You've got Werewolf by Night, you've got Silk, you've got Ghost Spider. Now, naturally, the Ghost Spider is going to be the weaker of the bunch, but listen, did Silk not make your top 10 2-cost cards of the week last week? Like seriously, Silk has been chef's kiss super good. It's okay. Since last week, I played a lot more Silk with Jean Grey, by the way, because I like playing the stuff we talk about. You often like implant these thoughts in my head, like maybe I'm wrong, maybe I got to do what Cozy's saying, right? So I've been playing some of the Silk, a lot more Jean Grey. I'm like, damn, Cozy's right. Silk is so good. Like, yeah, you can't really reliably do the math on like where the 2/5 is going to be, but that's a 2/5 that's bouncing around. It's 5 damn power. It's going to put up points. It's going to help you out eventually. Yeah, there's some cursed gameplay every once in a while, but if you're not getting screwed by Silk, you're getting screwed by the locations or whatever, right? So
yeah,
you know, I've come around on Silk just in the last 7 days, Cozy. So it definitely raises the bar of this particular package.
Yeah, this is Elsa Bloodstone week, right? Like all these cards benefit from Elsa. Maybe even a tease at Glenn saying, "Hey, check out Ghost Spider. I think she's gonna work." I mean, what's cool is the fact that you could play essentially Werewolf on the end cap of Elsa's lane, power him up there. Then you play Ghost Spider, and you could pull the thing that kind of sucks is you pull the Werewolf to that lane, and then the on reveal wouldn't work with that, so it's kind of anti-synergistic there, but it kind of has some stuff going for it. This is a good week, man. I think the Wolf is going to be great. We can both say that. I think it's going to be a really cool card. Silk is great. In Ghost Spider, I was reminded from the toxic gameplay. I would use, obviously, Doc Ock, and Ghost Spider is awesome, but even like Spider-Woman, like I've done my job. I put a -4 over there, or most of the time, and then I pulled her to another lane, and now I have 10 power on that lane. Ghost Spider, if you like 5 drops, and your deck is designed about around 5 drops being powerful, she's great, dude. She's awesome to be playing on turn 6, so I do like her. I think this is a good week, man, and it's a good week going into the next season. So you could go like week 1, week 4, and then save for November is probably like, for an average person, a good plan.
Werewolf by Night, I think, is going to be the highest conviction new card. And so, like, in this package, like, I think Ghost Spider, if you're playing Move, you need to consider playing Ghost Spider. Silk is meta relevant. Werewolf is potentially meta relevant. So I think this is a strong week to roll on, generally speaking. And I mean, that actually brings us to a excellent kind of segue to our next point of discussion. It's getting your hands on cards that are not Series 5 anymore. Now, this has been a frustrating thing for a lot of players. And I'm going to be candid. I'm starting to share that frustration with you guys. I don't own one card in Marvel Snap. That's Jeff. not Jeff, sorry, I own Jeff. I naturally own Jeff. Howard, sorry, going from one very cute animal card to another. Howard the Duck is the only card not in my collection. Not that I'm going to spend 6,000 tokens on Howard the Duck. It's going to drop. You know what I told myself that, like, I don't know, 3 months ago. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to drop, and it just never did. Series drops have seemingly disappeared, and I think that it is a significant source of frustration for the community. At first I was apologetic. Now I'm getting pissed off too. So it's like, these got to happen eventually, right, Cozy?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it, whether it was last week or the week prior to that, but we kind of said, like, I think it was last, like, where are they? Like, where are what exactly, right? And I think spotlights are fine for what they've been. However, they're getting uglier by the month, right? Snap players are snap players. They want to complain about everything. There's two kind of states, right? And what I mean, like, this is what I see, right? So, great example. I saw Squirrel Girl gets a 1-2, and people are looking at data mine buffs, and they're like, Marvel Snap made Squirrel Girl better to try to make them sell packs. First of all, probably, sure, but a 1-2 SQ is still pretty damn irrelevant in the game, right? If they want to sell some zombies, let them for it. But then on the other side of things, the whole variant, like I was opening my series drops and I got like a random, I don't even remember, and I was like, what the hell? This wasn't on anything. It was because I had the high evo one and I like repeated that whole special variant. The planning behind, and second if you're listening, the planning behind spotlights and what they did has gotten uglier, and they need to get ahead of it ASAP. We got to get ahead of it of, like, what's the plan in the future? What are the variants in the future? Why are we repeating cards? Where are the series drops? These all play together in kind of one dance, and you're close. You're close, but it's like, it's comical not to have some of these cards as a series drop now. Other than, like, you just don't want to. Like, a great example, and I know we're going to talk about, like, what cards we want to drop and whatnot, but, like, Darkhawk, like, make him Series 3, right? Like, he opens up an archetype. As players progress, new players, if they get Darkhawk, they can start building a really cool deck around that. Alex, I think Kitty Pryde should be a Series 3 drop. She came to everybody for free. Why not just make her a Series 3? That's my personal thoughts, is these cards that open up the game more, these players that are getting into it.
Yeah, so we go from no drops to Kitty Pryde from 5 directly to 3. That would be wild. What a change of pace that would be. I think that, first of all, you're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. Like, Kitty Pryde is probably one of the cards that should drop, but won't. Like, there's 3 cards in my eyes. I'm like, you know what? These are cards that probably should be dropping, and I don't think they will.
They just won't.
You have Jeff. Jeff ain't
not
dropping. I don't care. Jeff ain't dropping. Right?
Nope.
Yeah. Does Iron Lad drop?
No.
No, eh?
No. I don't think Iron Lad drops. Nope.
So that's the 3. So it's Kitty Pryde, Iron Lad, and Jeff are the 3 that I think are, like, the ones that kind of, like, get put into a different category. Kitty's probably the most likely to drop because of its prior availability, the fact that it was released to everybody, right? Am I wrong?
That's why I kind of felt like a Series 3, because you gave it to everybody for free. Those that are, like, you never want to do anything against new players coming to your game to start out, right? But, like, at that point, it's a one drop that has such a significant advantage that it would be well worth it. And I get there's people listening that are like, well, I bought Kitty Pryde for 6K. Like, that's just how it works, all right? To me, I want to look at the drops, and I want to look at these new cards that have been out and released and say which ones really amplify. Not make the archetype sexier, but give you new access, right? So, like, for example, X23 is never going to drop. But also, it makes Destroy sexier, per se. It's tough where to find the balance, but we've got to have some type of a plan. Like, for instance, these are the ones that need to be S3, no question. Spider-Ham, I think, could be argued. Howard, Negasonic, Stegron, Master Mold, all those need to be Series 3. Just get them out of the way. Those don't need to be Spotlight cards whatsoever. And then they need to hold... what do they bring to the game? They're complement cards. They're cards that are, 4 of those suck, and then 2 of them are complement cards. Make them S3. There's no reason not to, is my thought, at least.
Yeah, I agree. The concern I have is that, like, we're also framing this from a perspective of power. Like, we should not be gating power behind series either. And that's kind of happening with Jeff and Iron Lad, right? And like, listen, they should just drop like anything else. If Jeff is the best card in the game, it shouldn't matter. It should still drop like everyone else is. And we just, the fact that we're like, oh, it ain't dropping, I think that's part of the problem, right? Like, it should eventually drop like anything else.
Yeah.
Just like X23, like you said in passing, like, and you're right, it ain't gonna drop, but it should be dropping like anything else, right?
If they do, they need to do one or the other. Prove to us and have like Snow Guard or some of these cards go from 5 to 1 or 5 to 1. 5 to 3, right? And have that like new introduction to series drops where it's like kind of just like these, they don't feel right, whatever it is. And I get it, it's not just like power cards, right? You can have other examples. Have it that way, which you've already showed. Like Mobius was a Series 4 card off the bat. That's awesome, right? Like we've already had Legion was 2, I think, yeah. So like we're having really good cards at Series 4. Do that or just go back to regular schedule maintenance, baby. And then you have predictability again. Like one or the other have to happen. I think so.
I agree 100%. Cozy, you're exactly right. Has to be one of the two. And like, if you go to scheduled maintenance, we did the work here. The cards I should have dropped are Ghost Spider should have went from 5 to 4. Hitmonkey should have went from 5 to 4. Hitmonkey has been a long time, right? Howard the Duck should be 5 to 4. Silk should be 5 to 4 and is now in a spotlight cache. And then Nebula. Now that's a big one. Nebula from 5 to 4. I think that Nebula Loki is still probably one of the higher win rate, most played cards in the game that no one talks about. Like, that is in so many decks, so many meta relevant decks, and it's still hanging out at Series 5.
Do you think, this is a good conversation, do you think season pass cards are series droppers or they're perfect for spotlights? Because it's kind of interesting. I don't mind that like Loki coming as a spotlight in November. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. If they made it the season after, I love it as a spotlight. So if Loki was a spotlight this season, I think it's perfect. I think that's how it should kind of work, because then you get the card for free without paying for it, and you get to open it. I don't know.
That's fantastic for free to play. Like, if the last week of every season is always last season's season pass card,
or week
like that,
one,
that would be cool, right? Like, so it's basically like it's like the 2 months. You don't even have to do the series drop, basically. Then you add to Series 5, all to the spotlight cache. That would be a very, very clean thing. I like that. I actually like that a lot. I think that's kind of fair to free to play players. I mean, it sucks still, like, not having access to like a Loki for 2 months or whatever, depending on where it falls. But yeah, like, I think that that's much more fair. I think that the spotlight caches are way more accessible than tokens. There's no question about it, to some degree anyways. I like that suggestion a lot. To continue the conversation though, you touched on a lot of them, but here are the cards that are overdue for a Series 4 to 3 drop. And some of these people have forgotten are still hanging out in Series 4. Darkhawk, you already mentioned, should have gone from 4 to 3 already. It's like, this is months now. Null is still a Series 4 card, Cozy. Can you believe it? That Null is still a Series 4 card. It makes no sense. Like that, did you kind of momentarily forget that Null was Season 4 or what?
No, it's almost like Null, I put in this category of just like a boss card. You know what I mean? Like I hate to say it, it's almost like I get, for whatever reason, I get that he's a Series 4 guy. Does that make sense? Like, it's like, oh yeah, well, like he's kind of like, he's like the end of Destroy, like the final level, you know, like once you've mastered that. But yeah, it's like timing wise, he came out, we're coming on an effing year. He came out in December.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then Master Mold Negasonic and Stature. Stature would be the one from a time standpoint, which would be the next one to drop. And it's in a spotlight cache. So very interesting cards there. One thing I want to preface here is that, like, from my understanding, the series drops aren't gone. It's not that Second Dinner says they're not doing them anymore. It sounds like they're waiting for the right time to reintroduce them.
Like I said, they got to get the variants and stuff figured out.
I know.
It's just like that old that. Listen, I love the people behind. I love the creators of Snap. Is what I want to say though is like we're due for like a good like quality of life update and we've talked about this and or like on Ben Broad's announcement stuff like that. There's like a little section to talk about kind of like how Snap's doing. Now we have the anniversary coming up this month, which is awesome. This is a good time to do it. But you know what I mean? Like I feel like we need a little bit of like let's talk as a community and tell you kind of what our plans are. Not just a roadmap, but like, you know, thank you guys for what does that make sense? I feel like
Answer
we
the
need
hard
that.
questions. You want them to answer the hard questions.
Yeah, and which they do like on a regular basis on Discord and stuff, and like they kill it at that. But it's like they need to talk about some of the stuff that's been lingering. Where like people don't need to listen to the Snapchat to be reminded about the first edition whatever stuff like that. Like just bring it back up instead. It's like in life, right? When you want to like just keep something buried, but it feels so much better just to open up and talk about it instead of not talking about first edition. Just call it out. Just talk about it openly, right? Or series drops. These need to be talked about openly.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that the perpetuating silence around series drop might be one of the most frustrating parts. The fact that they're not happening, pissing people off. The fact that nothing's being said about them, pissing people off even more.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what's happening. The fact that it's been this silent treatment around series drop, which is obviously such a huge component of this game. It's a card game where the collection-based system revolves around tokens, series drops, and a collection track. And if all three are not firing on all cylinders, something's going to feel bad. And whose experience suffers? The player's experience suffers, right? And so I agree 100%. You have an opportunity in a couple weeks here with the 1-year anniversary of Marvel Snap. Answer the tough questions, make some big announcements, and give a little bit back to the community that has been patiently waiting for these series drops. Honestly, is it that hard? Is it really that hard to drop Negasonic down to Pool 3? Like, am I missing something here?
Yeah, I think it all comes back to, I feel like it all comes back to the whole spotlight system, which I can say, like, again, you could look at it across the board, even with a sound mind. Like, spotlights have been great for the game. They're fantastic. They're much better, much miles better than what we were dealing with. Just start tweaking it and don't take forever. That's kind of my process. But man, we'll see what happens. We got a few weeks till the anniversary.
Yeah, and as we kind of go on to the closing grace of this podcast, we should have mentioned Stegron too. Steggy got absolutely no love in this conversation. Steggy's the forgotten card of Marvel Snaps. It has to get dropped eventually. But regardless, Cozy, I think this is an absolutely fantastic conversation. I think they have to happen. I think we have to sometimes have the more difficult conversations, but ultimately, I hope some positive comes from it. But guys, thank you so much for joining us today. All your support for the content that Cozy and I produce is immensely appreciated. And down in the description, and of course in the center of the screen, you're going to see Cozy's video that you can watch if you haven't watched it yet already. Thank you so much, everyone, and we'll see you on that next Snapchat episode.